Hey there, rock and roll renegades and closet air guitar champions. You know that song that hits you like a semi-truck on a lonely highway? Yeah, Turn the Page by Bob Seger and Amp, the Silver Bullet Band. Come on, don't pretend you haven't belted it out in your car at 2 a.m., feeling like the world's most misunderstood road warrior. Even if you're more of a latte-sipping hipster who claims to only listen to vinyl obscurities, deep down, this tune's got its hooks in you. It's the anthem for anyone who's ever felt the grind of the daily hustle, but cranked up to 11 with sax solos that could make a statue weep. Today we're diving headfirst into the chaotic, sweat-soaked story behind this classic. Picture this, a tale of endless bus rides, judgmental stares from small-town diners, and a melody that turned Bob Seger's personal therapy session into a cultural juggernaut. We'll uncover the spark that lit the fuse, the album Shenanigans that almost buried it, its rise through controversies that had parents clutching pearls, and the weird legacy that's still echoing today. Stick around, because by the end, you'll be turning the page on everything you thought you knew about rock life. And hey, if you're not hooked yet, just wait. I've got puns that'll make you groan louder than a feedback loop. Let's kick it off with the spark, the moment this bad boy was conceived. Back in 1972, Bob Seger wasn't the stadium-filling legend we know now. He was grinding it out on the road with a band called Tea Garden and Amp. Van Winkle, crisscrossing the Midwest like a pack of nomadic wolves chasing gigs. Bob wasn't one to write songs on tour, said it was too distracting, like trying to compose poetry while dodging potholes. But Turn the Page snuck up on him like a bad hangover. It all started in some godforsaken truck stop in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, or was it Iowa? Details get fuzzy after a few hundred miles of blacktop. Imagine the scene. Bob and the boys roll in, long hair flowing like they'd just escaped a hippie commune, bell-bottoms flapping in the breeze. They're starving, so they hit this diner filled with truckers and locals who look like they stepped out of a John Wayne flick. Suddenly, every eye in the place is drilling into them. Whispers start, "Look at those freaks." Bob later said it felt like being an alien in your own country. The stares, the judgment. It was the early 70s, man, when long hair was basically a declaration of war on the establishment. Seger channeled that isolation, that bone-deep fatigue from 16-hour bus rides, where the only entertainment was counting cows or arguing over the last bag of chips. He started with the title, Turn the Page, and worked backward, which is kinda genius, like building a house from the roof down. The lyrics poured out, on a long and lonesome highway east of Omaha. It's visceral, right? You can smell the diesel, feel the rumble under your seat, taste the stale coffee. Bob called it therapy, a way to process the emotional toll of touring, the highs of the stage crashing into the lows of anonymity off it. What if instead of writing a song, he'd just flipped the bird and started a brawl? We'd have Punch the Face instead, but nah, Bob's classier than that. Pun intended, he didn't punch, he just turned the page. Boom, first humor beat, don't say I didn't warn you. But here's some obscure trivia to chew on. Bob wrote this while opening for bigger acts, barely scraping by. He was 27, already a veteran of the Detroit scene, but nationally? Crickets. This song was his quiet rebellion, a middle finger to the glamour myth of rock stardom. No private jets here, just Greyhound buses and motels that made you check for bed bugs. And get this, the famous sax line? That came from Alto Reed, the Silver Bullet Band's sax wizard, who wasn't even in the original recording. More on that later. Moving to the album and release Shenanigans, oh boy, this is where it gets juicy. Like a burger that's been flipped on too many times. Turn the Page first saw the light of day on Bob's 1973 album, back in '72. Yeah, the title's a head-scratcher. Recorded in '72, released in '73, like it couldn't decide which year to commit to. The cover's this bold yellow slab with black jagged letters, looking like a warning sign for rock ahead, proceed with caution. The album was Seger's 7th, but it flopped harder than a lead balloon at a balloon festival. Produced by Punch Andrews, Bob's longtime manager, It was cut in studios from Detroit to Muscle Shoals, Alabama. They brought in heavy hitters like J.J. Cale on guitar and even some Stax Records horns for that soulful punch. But Turn the Page wasn't a single. Capitol Records pushed Rosalie instead, which tanked. The whole album sold like hotcakes, if hotcakes were made of concrete. Why the flop? Timing, baby. The early 70s were all about glam rock and prog epics. Think Bowie in Glitter or Yes with 20-minute solos. Bob's Heartland rock was too raw, too real for the charts. Critics were mixed. Some called it his best yet, others said it lacked cohesion. Shenanigans ensued when the album vanished from print for decades due to rights issues. Bob bought back the masters in the 90s to keep it from bootleggers. Imagine that, your own song held hostage by paperwork. What if Bob had released it as a concept album about page-turning librarians? Turn the Page, the Dewey Decimal rock opera. Okay, that's absurd, but admit it, you'd watch the musical. But fate had a plot twist. In 1975, Seger and the Silver Bullet Band, freshly assembled with muscle from Detroit's bar scene, hit Cobo Hall in Detroit for 2 blistering shows. They recorded Live Bullet, a double album that captured the raw energy of Turn the Page like lightning in a bottle. Alter Reed's sax solo, epic. He'd lie on his back, head dangling off the stage, wailing like a banshee. The crowd went nuts. Released in '76, Live Bullet exploded, selling over 5 million copies and catapulting Seger to stardom. Turn the Page became the standout, hitting number 70 on the charts but dominating FM radio. It was the underdog story, from album cut to live legend. Pun time. It didn't just turn the page, it ripped the book in half and started a new chapter. Now the rise to mythic status, where controversies brew and culture gets a Seger-shaped tattoo. By the late 70s, Turn the Page was synonymous with the rock life grind. But controversies? Well, Bob's version was clean as a whistle. No lawsuits, no scandals. But oh, the myths! Let's debunk that backmasking nonsense right now. Back in the day, paranoid parents swore every rock song had hidden Satan messages if played backward. For Turn the Page, some crackpot theories claimed it said, "Worship the highway," or something ridiculous when reversed. Spoiler, it doesn't. Play it backward and you get garbled sax and Bob sounding like he's ordering takeout in Klingon. Myth busted. It's just a song about touring, not summoning demons. If it was, the Devils would be complaining about bus delays too. But real controversy hit when Metallica covered it in 1998 on their Garage Inc. album. James Hetfield and crew turned it into a growling beast, hitting number 1 on rock charts. The music video, though. Directed by porn vet Jonas Åkerlund, it followed a single mum, played by Ginger Lynn, an adult film star stripping and turning tricks to survive. Explicit scenes had MTV banning it, parents outraged and feminists debating. Hetfield defended it as real-life grit, but it sparked backlash like a mosh pit brawl. What if Bob had sued? Nah, he loved the cover. Said it introduced his music to headbangers. Culture ripple. The song infiltrated movies like Mask with Cher, TV shows like Supernatural, even The Simpsons. It became the go-to for any road-weary character. Obscure trivia. Waylon Jennings covered it country style in '85, proving it's genre-proof. Satirical swipe. In a world of auto-tuned pop stars, Turn the Page reminds us rock was once about real sweat, not Instagram filters. And here's a what if. If Seger had written it today, it'd be Swipe the Screen, about doom scrolling. Yeah, less poetic. Shifting gears to legacy and lasting weirdness, this song's immortal, folks. Over 50 years later, it's Seger's calling card, played at every concert until his 2019 farewell tour. The Silver Bullet Band made it epic, with Reed sax stealing hearts until his passing in 2020. Legacy. It's the blueprint for road anthems. Think Springsteen's Thunder Road or Bon Jovi's Wanted Dead or Alive. Cultural ripples. Truckers adopt it as their hymn. Comedians parody it. and it's in video games like Guitar Hero. Weirdness abounds. Tribute bands like Turn the Page tour endlessly, meta as hell. Metallica's cover bridged generations. Old rockers digging thrash, metalheads discovering Heartland soul. Trivia nugget. The live version's so iconic, the studio one feels like a demo. And debunked myth. No, it's not about reading books, though if it was, librarians would rock harder. What if aliens invaded and their first demand was a Seger concert? We'd turn the page on intergalactic war with one sax riff. Irreverent aside, Bob's genius lies in making exhaustion sound sexy. Who else could romanticize truck stops? Alright, wrapping this up before I turn into a pumpkin, or worse, a pop star. Turn the Page isn't just a song, it's a survival guide for life's highways. Bob Seger, you blue-collar bard, thanks for the therapy we all needed. If this vid rocked your socks, smash that like button, subscribe for more deep dives into rock lore, and drop a comment. What's your ultimate road song? Turn the Page on boredom. See you next time. Rock on!